When I was a teenager, my friends and I were always up for a thrill. We thought we were invincible, untouchable, and that nothing could scare us. It was during one dark, stormy night that we stumbled upon an old Ouija board in the attic of my friend's house. Little did we know that our lives were about to take a terrifying turn. The board was dusty, with worn-out letters and symbols. Despite its eerie appearance, we were drawn to it like moths to a flame. We set it up in the dimly lit attic, surrounded by flickering candles, and gathered in a circle. A sense of unease hung in the air as we placed our hands on the planchet. We asked the board a simple question: is there anyone here with us? The planchet moved slowly, spelling out the name Sam. We glanced at each other, doubting the authenticity of our discovery. But the planchet continued to move, spelling out answers to our questions with chilling accuracy. It knew things about us that no one else could possibly know. As the night went on, our fear turned into fascination, and we kept asking more questions. Sam claimed to be a spirit from the past, trapped between worlds. We couldn't resist delving deeper into this supernatural conversation. Sam seemed friendly, even comforting, and we began to trust this mysterious presence. But our newfound fascination quickly turned to dread when the atmosphere in the room changed. The candles flickered wildly, and a cold wind swept through the attic. Sam's responses became hostile and menacing. It spelled out phrases like, "I'm watching you," and "You can't escape." We realized that we had unknowingly opened a door to something malevolent. Panic set in as we desperately tried to end the session, but the planchet refused to move. It seems as though Sam was now in control, and we were at its mercy. The attic grew colder, and our breath formed frosty clouds in the air. The room was filled with whispers and disembodied voices. Shadows danced on the walls, and we could hear faint, eerie laughter. Sam's messages became more sinister, foretelling our deaths in gruesome detail. Terrified and trapped, we continued to beg for release. We felt a sinister presence lurking all around us, and it seemed to be growing stronger by the second. Our pleas and prayers went unanswered as the night stretched on endlessly. Time lost all meaning, and our bodies grew weak from fear and exhaustion. We began to see apparitions, grotesque and horrifying, circling around us. The Ouija board itself seemed to come to life, its symbols and letters glowing with an otherworldly light. Our group started to fall apart as some lost their sanity, while others grew desperate to escape. But Sam had us firmly in his grip. We were no longer in control, and the entity seemed to feed on our terror. The nightmarish ordeal continued for what felt like an eternity. It wasn't until the first rays of dawn crept through the attic windows that we finally gained control over the planchet. With trembling hands, we spelled out goodbye and put the Ouija board away. The moment the planchet left the board, the attic returned to normal. The shadows disappeared, the voices silenced, and the oppressive cold lifted. We were left in shock and disbelief at the horrors we had just experienced. As a teenager, my fascination with Ouija boards was piqued when I discovered that my family had one tucked away in the basement. It was buried amidst old board games in a small, dimly lit closet, and its dusty box simply read, Ouija, with two hands clutching the planchet. Eager to try it out, I enlisted the help of a few friends for a spine-tingling session. One ominous evening, my friends Liam and Jack arrived at my house. Darkness enveloped us as my parents were away, leaving my younger brother, Adam, at home. We set the scene in my bedroom, which was converted from the loft, by turning off the lights and placing a flashlight in the corner, illuminating the Ouija board. With the planchette in hand, we hesitantly began asking basic questions. Asking if anyone was there, we watched in astonishment as the planchette moved to yes. Adam then inquired about the entity's age, and it spelled out 67. Despite our suspicions that one of us was responsible for the movement, we played along. We took turns asking questions, and when I questioned if the entity was a demon, the planchette ominously spelled out yes. We all nervously laughed, assuming someone was pranking us. However, the laughter was cut short when the flashlight suddenly turned off, sending shivers down our spines. We scrambled to get the flashlight back on, but it remained unresponsive. A collective fear washed over us. We abandoned the session and left my room, opting to spend the rest of the night in the backyard, too scared to remain inside. I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease about the Ouija board and its eerie response. Eventually, my friends went home and Adam and I had returned to our rooms for the night. I placed the Ouija board back in its box and relocated it downstairs, reluctant to sleep in its presence. As I lay in the darkness, trying to fall asleep, a sudden noise from my closet jolted me awake. I switched on my bedside lamp and cautiously approached the closet. It was a small walk-in closet with a single light bulb controlled by an exterior switch. I turned it on and peered through the crack at the bottom of the door. There, I saw the unsettling shadows of what appeared to be feet on the other side. My heart raced, and I called out for Adam, who rushed to my room. I recounted to him what I had seen, and we both ventured into my closet. The light was still on, but the shadow had vanished. I opened the closet, finding it empty, except for a wooden box I had crafted in my childhood, housing sentimental items. Strangely, it had toppled over, its contents scattered on the floor. There was no logical explanation for how it had fallen over. Terrified and unnerved, I spent the night in my parents' bed and continued to do so for a week. Eventually, I returned to my own room, but I could never forget the unexplained events of that night. The Ouija board was never touched again, leaving us with a chilling fear of the supernatural world we had unwittingly ventured into. When I was a teenager, I had always been kind of a skeptic. The supernatural and paranormal had never really piqued my interest until that fateful summer evening when my friends and I decided to test the waters with a Ouija board. Little did we know, we were about to plunge headfirst into a chilling encounter that would haunt us for the rest of our lives. It was a hot, muggy night, and my friends and I were looking for something fun to do. We stumbled upon an old Ouija board in the basement of my friend's house, covered in cobwebs and dust. The idea of trying it seemed like a lark, but it was a way to kill time on a boring summer night. We gathered around the board, placed our hands on the planchette, and began to ask the board if there was anyone there. At first, nothing happened. We laughed, thinking it was just a silly game. But then, slowly and eerily, the planchette began to move. It spelt out the name Ella. None of us knew an Ella, and we exchanged uneasy glances. We continued to ask questions, and the answers grew more specific, revealing intimate details about the life of Ella. The atmosphere in the room shifted. The air grew colder, and the lights dimmed. We asked Ella how she had passed away, and the board spelled out, drowned. Goosebumps prickled our skin as we realized that we were communicating with a spirit. Ella claimed to have a message for us, one that she needed to deliver urgently. She spelled out a series of numbers, which we quickly jotted down. She insisted that we had to find her lost locket and return it to her family. We were hesitant, but decided to try and solve the mystery that had fallen into our laps. Ella's message had a sense of urgency, and we couldn't shake the feeling that we needed to help her. We started searching the numbers that she had provided and discovered an old news article about a girl named Ella who had indeed drowned in a nearby lake many years ago. It described her as a kind and gentle soul who had gone missing before her untimely death. Determined to help Ella, we scoured the town for clues about her locket. It took weeks of searching, but we eventually found an antique shop owner who remembered buying a locket that matched Ella's description. The locket was adorned with a delicate design and contained a small picture of Ella. It had been sold to him by a stranger who claimed to have found it near the lake where Ella had drowned. We contacted Ella's surviving family and arranged to return the locket to them. They were grateful and moved by our efforts to help their daughter, even if it had come through supernatural means. As we handed the locket back to Ella's family, we felt a sense of closure and relief. The eerie connection that we had established with the spirit had ultimately led to a small but meaningful act of kindness and healing for her grieving family. Our skepticism had been shattered, but we couldn't deny the profound impact of our Ouija board experience.